Have you ever wanted to construct your own city from the ground and build it up, put out parks, cities, villas, industries, and everything in the town just the way that you want it? Well, now you have at least a small chance to replicate that dream. Because I'm gonna show you Shake That City. This is a 1 to 4 player game. It is about you constructing your little city. You will put out the tiles on a little board, make the map grow and grow, and hopefully you will become the winner in the game by placing your city in the best way possible. In this video, I'm going to show you the setup of the game. I'm going to give you an overview of the gameplay, but I'm also going to go through all of the rules in the game. So once you have watched this video, well, you are ready to start shaking that city. This is the setup of the game. Up here we have the different building tiles. Below that we have the round tracker with the token on number 1. Here we have the Shake That City container with all the wooden tokens inside. Each player gets a player board. These boards are double-sided. It is recommended that you start with this side up, with only land. There is another side with a shoreline, but this one is recommended that you use when you have played a few games. Each player gets a set of 7 bonus tiles. The first player is the one that have shaken anything lastly. That person takes these tiles and put them around their player board. The other players mimics this pattern and places out their bonus tiles exactly the same as the first player. And they will do this in the same cardinal direction as well. Meaning that even if you sit in another placement, the bonus tiles should all be placed the same way in the same direction. The players also have a score reference board next to them so they can easily see how to score points in the game. So this game is about you building a city. And we will do this by first shaking it real good. This box will give you a pattern of cubes on the board. The first player, the one that actually shakes the city, gets to pick a color. Then they take a corresponding building of that color and place it out on their map. When the first player have done this, the turn goes to the other players, who then get to choose a color and put it out on their boards. When the first player is done, the turn goes to the second player and they will do the same thing. Shake the city, choose a color, and the game will move on. Now, it's a good idea if all the players keep an eye on the score reference board just so they know what they actually want to achieve to get the most points. But let's take a look at the gameplay. The first thing the first player does is to fill the container with all of the wooden cubes. Then we need to shake it real good. We should keep it on the table while we're shaking and not put it up in the air. Now we need to push down here and then we lift the container. It's important that we shake the box so the cubes ends up in the same pattern as the player boards and not twist and turn it in different directions. When we have given the city a good shake and we have the pattern on the table, it is time for the first player to pick a color. Now, the color they pick will represent the building that they will place out on their map. So it's important that we actually know what we want. And the color that the first player chooses can't be picked by the other players. So for example, if I choose blue, the other players cannot pick blue. But they can pick any of the other colors, and they are allowed to pick the same color. So if the first player chooses blue, for example, they should pick up 1, 2, 3 blue buildings and not disturb the pattern on the tables. So we pick up the 3 buildings and now we get to place them out on our player board. So when you put out your buildings on your map, you first need to take the same amount of buildings as you have chosen colors. In this case, 3. You also need to place it in the same pattern as the cubes are showing, meaning that you can't twist or turn this pattern in any way. You can't change the direction of the cubes and you can't change placement on them. So in this case, this would be a valid placement. Here we have the two first and the other one out here. Next time we put out new buildings, we cannot put out any buildings on top of these. And we may not move or change any tiles that we have placed in our city. When the first player have chosen their city color and placed it out on the map, the other players are free to choose their color and then place out the building according to the same placement rules that I have just told you. So when you put out your buildings in your city, you can't twist or turn, you can't move the tiles any way you want to. You need to follow the pattern as the cube lies. But you may, however, place the tiles anywhere on the board you want to, as long as you follow the same pattern and do not cover any previously placed tiles. Up to round 12, the game will run just as it has the whole time. But when we come up to 13, 14 and 15, the game rules changes slightly, because now all player gets to choose any color they would like to. Meaning that even if the first player chooses green, the rest of the players can also choose green. Once the round marker comes up to 15, all players places their last tiles and the game ends. So now the game ends and it's time for us to calculate scores. Now, depending on how you have placed your little buildings in your city and how you have placed them according to the different bonus tiles, you will of course gain different scores. And there are quite a few things to keep in mind as a city planner. You wouldn't want a residential building being next to an industry, would you? Or an industry being in the middle of the city? Or a city being in the middle of an industry? No, you need to keep these things in mind while you're planning out your city. Roads will score you 1 point per road that leads to the edge. But they need to be connected adjacently and not orthogonically. Meaning that in this case, this player would get 1, 2, 3, but also 4 points, because this one leads to the edge like that. Parks will score up to 2 points and earn 1 point if they're adjacent to any factory or any number of homes. Factories will score you 2 points, and they earn 1 point if they are adjacent to other factories or roads. The shops will only earn your points if they are adjacently connected to the edge of the board or are straight into the board. Meaning that this shop over here won't earn you points because it is connected orthogonically. But these here are connected either by road or directly to the edge of the board, and they will score you points. If you have a shop connected to the edge of the board in the gray area, you will get 3 points. In the brown area, 2 points, and in the green area, 1 point. The homes will score 2 points for each single home or a group of homes. But if they are connected to a factory, they will score 0. And then we have the bonus tiles. And as you can see, these bonus tiles are split up into 2 halves. You only need to fulfill 1 half of the bonus tile to get the extra scores. This one here means that you need to fill 1 line with any tiles to get the bonus. The other one on the other half means that you need 4 of the same tile in a row stated on the picture to get this bonus. Like this here, for example. Then you have fulfilled that part of the bonus. If you fulfill any of these, you flip this tile over and get a 3 points extra score. You get the corner bonus by having at least 2 of each tile type in your city. And that's how you play the game. The first player shakes the city, picks a color, takes the corresponding building and puts it in their city. And then the 2 other players can do the same thing, but they can't choose the same color as the first player. Unless it is round 13, 14 and 15. Then anyone can pick any color they would like to. Once the game is over, we need to see how we have placed our buildings and do scores. But we will also get scores for the different bonuses here, and there are a bunch of different ways for you to get bonuses as well, depending on how you have placed the buildings. And this is where this game becomes quite hard. Because the game itself is really easy to learn. It takes no time at all. The setup goes really fast, but to actually know how you want to place your building and not being able to twist and turn the buildings around, have to follow this pattern and still get the right placement on everything, that is where this game becomes quite hard. This is not that hard to learn, but it's really hard to master, and you need to understand what kind of patterns you need to do to actually get scores in the end of the game, and also keep a track on the bonuses around the map. And this is the easy side. We also have the other side of the board with the water lines. Here it becomes even harder, and you need to think in a quite different ways on how you put up the buildings. The scorings looks a bit the same, but there are a few changes from this to that. So keep that in mind as well when you play your game. Be sure to start with the easy side, play a few games on that, and then you can move up to the harder side. The artwork in this game is quite simple, but quite well made, and it doesn't need to be super detailed. I mean, you have these little buildings here with the roads and the little tiles on them, and they really do the trick. You don't need anything else. And there's no text in here, so it's language independent. You don't need to sit down for hours and learn the rules. You can basically start playing in no time. And if you want to make it a bit more simple for the kids, you can, instead of worrying about all the scoring on the placement of these buildings, just do the different bonuses instead. There's also a solo mode in this game, which I sadly have not tried yet. But here you will have different construction sites in the building that you need to solve and get rid of to be able to place your own buildings. You can also use that mode when you play with friends, but in that case I recommend you to just learn the base game first and then add up with that later. So that was Shake That City, an easy to learn but hard to master city building tile placement game. It takes around 20 to 40 minutes to play, depending on how many you are, of course. And this one will be out on Kickstarter in November this year. So if you want to know more about that game, check out the links down in the description. I think this game was a lot of fun. I played it with my kids, but I only used the bonus tracks and it worked quite well. With adults, with the forming out the city and actually building the different tiles and placement there, that's where the game gets hard and you need to think about your placement before you place them out. Also, when you're the first player and you get to shake the city and actually pick the color, that's where you need to put down your strategy to actually figure out what kind of pattern you would like to build. How to connect the roads, how to put the little buildings. There are a lot of strategy in this game. So if you want to know more about it, check out the links down in the description. There will be links to the Kickstarter, to Alderac games, and so on. If you like this video, people, why not give it a thumbs up? Throw in a comment there. Do you want to try to shake that city? I know I'm gonna shake it a lot in the future. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, but do not forget to spread that board gaming love I know you all have. Peace.